Hello and welcome. Let's try this scenario, if you will, or example, and create a survey in ArcGIS Survey123, and then share it and actually collect some data. So here's the scenario. You're an intern, and you'll be tasked to conduct a pothole survey in all of the neighborhoods in Westfield. And this is, of course, the perfect use for Survey123 because then you can do all the data collection on your smartphone, and then immediately the data are mapped as an ArcGIS online map, which you can share. And then, of course, you can also just download the data as a spreadsheet and do further analysis. So, and then you can take that survey and modify it just a little bit, and then actually send it out to the community and crowdsource even more information. So it's the perfect tool here. And here's the 7 fields that you need in this example, right? You want date and time. In general, you always want to timestamp any field measurements, any field data collection. You want to always record the observer. This could be a field where you just type in your name, or you can select the name from a drop-down list. In that case, you should include always the option of other. So if a name isn't there, then the observer can just type their name. We have 2 numeric fields here for the diameter of this pothole in inches and the depth. And then it gets really, of course, interesting and important, because now we're actually using the capabilities of your smartphone to record the location of your observation, which of course is really handy, and then a photograph of your observation. And then lastly, always include a comment field, so that in case you're out there mapping, in case you're out there in the field data collecting, and there's something that's important for which there is no specific field, you can always record that into the comment field. Right, so seven data fields here, basically 7 questions, if you will, of your survey. And that's a generic example, obviously, and you can just sort of think about modifying this as you need to for any other field data collection effort. Okay, so let's make this in Survey123. I've already logged on. This is ArcGIS Survey123. That's the website. I already have a few surveys here, so your screen might look a little different, but you click on New Survey, and we want to work with the web designer. We're not doing Survey123 Connect. So we just click on Get Started. We give this a name, Westfield. Right, let's always try to make sure we don't have typos. Now we can edit all of this, and then always include the version number. This is version 2.0 because I already did version 1.0, but always include the version number, because you might edit the survey, you might change a few things, and then you just give it a new name, version 3.0, 4.0, that sort of thing. You want to always tag it with whatever you need it. Westfield, pothole. Actually, there's a comma, right? Potholes. This is very helpful if you have a lot of surveys and you need to you want to sort of keep track of them, and you want to type a summary. At minimum, you can just copy and paste the name, but in the summary you would type a little bit of information about what the survey is all about, and so forth. Then you click Create, and then ArcGIS Survey123 just sets up the environment to create a new survey, and you get popped out here. Here's the name of your survey. You have options here. There's overview, there's design, collaborate. None of these things make a lot of difference until you've actually designed the survey. So let's design the survey right now. You have your question options here, right? So what was our first one? We were going to have date and time. Okay, so let's put a date and time field in, right? So that's that. Label, date, time. Always put a hint in, date and time of your observation. Again, try to not have any typos here. The default is that they submit it. You can validate it. You can make it required or not. No, let's make that required. All right, so that's good. So let's go back to add. What was our second? Oh, that was the observer. All right, so now that would be a drop down. So observer name, who made this observation, and you know, so let's say you put your name in first and then you put the other members of your team. Maybe you have somebody on your staff whose name is Joe Smith, and maybe you have Sue Jones, right? You can of course add, and then always put in other, just in case somebody else is collecting data for you. You have some options here. You can make this required or not, and then periodically just hit the save button, and then you know, periodically hit the preview button, and then you can preview what you've done. And you know, what's really handy is you can preview it, how it would look on a desktop, how it would look on a smartphone screen, and how it would look on a tablet. So that's pretty good. And then you X out of this. All right, what else do we have? We had the questions here about diameter and depth. All right, so that would be, we go back to add, that would be a number field. It would be pothole diameter. And always give the unit, measure the diameter of the pothole to the nearest full inch. You can give the default value. You can make it required. You can make it an integer, which in this case makes sense if you want it to be a full number, an integer. Well, let's take that out, so we can save that again. Since the next question is very similar, we can just duplicate this question. So we hit this, and then, you know, this is not going to be pothole diameter. This is going to be pothole depth in inches, measure the depth. And same thing, and again we want to hit the save button, and then again we can preview it, see what it looks like. You want to just always sort of save and preview every now and again. Here we go. Right, so we have date and time. By default it puts the current date and time in. Observer, right, you can select, or other, you can type the name of whoever is making the observation. Here you can enter the number 4.5. Of course, this would not be, just say 4. Depth might be 1. Yeah, it seems to be working. So hit close that. So what else do we need? We need, location. So this is where it gets really interesting. All right, location, that's the map field. So let's add that in. Again, let's just walk through this. Location of pothole. Please mark the location of your observation. In this case, right, in this case, of course, we're pretending to map potholes, but this could be any other field data, whether that's a street sign, whether that's the location of a mouse trap that you are putting out, a wildlife trap or wildlife camera. And you can do points, lines, and polygons. You know, that of course makes sense. You can choose your base map. In this case, probably streets is more appropriate because we're mapping streets, potholes on streets. You can set the initial extent, so that would make sense. Let's just go into West Field so that we're not starting right all the way out. So we can sort of zoom in. You can actually sort of zoom in to even the specific neighborhood that you're working on. So that's seems to be okay. Again, you can validate it, so that's handy. So let's save that. And you can see here on the left what this approximately looks like. All right, I guess we have to just make sure we rearrange a few things here. That our pothole diameter question goes here. We just have to rename that. Forgot to do that. Well, that's easy to fix, right? Pothole depth in inches. There you go. Put the diameter up top. Let's make sure we get that. Rename pothole diameter. All right, pothole diameter to the nearest inch. That works. Pothole depth. Oh, perfect. Location. All right, so then let's add in, because we want to photograph. Remember, image. Well, I guess we need to be at the bottom here. That's the submit button, but yeah, add image. There we go. Now it puts it right where we need it. Photograph. Pothole. Please take a representative photograph. Image source can be something that's already taken, or use the camera, or just camera only. It's usually better to give the option here. You can make this required or not. Maybe not make it required, just in case the camera is broken. You can specify whether you want 1 or 2 or 3 photographs. You can also set a minimum and maximum. But again, let's hit the save button. Oh, looks like I have a typo here. All right. So easy to do. Just make sure you proofread. And then the last thing we need to add is a comment field. Now that's really important. Let's go back here. Anytime you want to include a comment field, just in case something is there that is relevant and important to observe and to note, but you don't have a specific data field for that. So, call a comment. Please note any additional relevant information here. And of course, that shouldn't be required, because there might not be any. You can set some minimum and maximum character counts. Let's just save that. And let's just preview it. Right, so that looks quite promising here. So again, here's our pothole survey version 2.0. Date and time, we want that. Observer name, we have the diameter in inches. We have the depth. We're gonna mark the location. Gonna have to adjust this quickly. And then we have the photograph, and we have the comment. That looks promising, and then we can look at it on the various screens. All right, just want to make sure. See, we kind of drifted away here, so let's set that location better. So there we go. So that's probably a good start location for our pothole mapping. All right, let's save this. And once we're happy with this, the next thing we have to do is we have to publish it. We have to turn it, if you will, from a draft into a published survey. And for that, we need that publish button. That's kind of right underneath that camera there. I'll move that out of the way and hit publish. All right. So let's click on that. We don't have to worry about this here. I'm going to just hit OK, publish. So now, your survey will get sort of tested and crunched, if you will, and published. And then you'll see what we can do with this. Now this takes a minute. Depends a little bit on the length of your survey. Survey has been published. Fantastic. Now let's see what else we can do with this now that it's published. Well, we can click on Overview, right? It gives us some information. Who's the owner, when it was created. It's private. We have to change that. We'll see how that works. And of course, there's no records yet because nobody has taken the survey. We haven't collected any data yet. Design, we just did. Collaborate, that's the next step, right? We want to make sure, here's the link, right? This is a good option here. Ask the user on how to open the survey. You'll see what I mean by that in just a second. We want to make sure it's accessible. In this case, we're going to just make it public. You could restrict it, right? You could restrict it, just make it accessible to people who are in a certain group, maybe in your department or you know, colleagues of yours. You can define what people can do. Usually that's a good default. You can do this as well. You can check what that means, but usually you can also close it. That's an important feature for crowdsourcing. Let's hit save. And then, of course, you can analyze it. Of course, you can't in this case because we haven't gotten any data yet. You can't look at the data because there are no actual responses yet. Settings, a few other things about some of the details here, not all that important. And then most important here, that's the link. So that's the link. You can copy and paste into an email. You can copy and paste that, put it on Facebook, put it on a website, share it with the community to crowdsource things, right? So that's the link back to your survey. So we just created a survey, right? Here's our design feature again. We did this. This is where you could add and edit, and of course preview as well. You can also, you know, do some editing here. You can change the appearance of your survey. You can use different color themes. There's more options here. But, you know, by and large, you're in a good position here. You want to make sure it's saved, right? So yes, you can go back to My Surveys. And here is that survey we just created, the Westfield State Pothole Survey version 2.0. This is the one I created earlier. So there you have it. This is how you create a survey in ArcGIS Survey123. Thank you for watching.